As a millennial, I realize that my advocating for discussions of Gen Z looks kind of like this. Because, yeah, people have been a little obsessed with talking about us since we can remember. Okay, so we killed a lot of things. Napkin, dating, wine, brunch, food in general. But we're done doing that now. And we millennials are old and boring. Out with the old, in with the new. It's time to talk about the new kids on the block. Generation Z, the digital natives. Gen Z. First of all, they're not babies anymore and they are growing up fast. There's about 60 million of them in the US, ranging from ages 7 to 22. So the oldest of them are full-fledged adults, getting jobs and spending real money. They make up a quarter of the US population and will be joining the workforce by the millions over the next decade. And they are a lot different. This generation is not Millennials 2.0. Gen Z has its own history and generational culture. The first difference to note is that they are much more risk-averse. They have no memory of a pre-9/11 US. The war on terror is all they know. The economic recession of 2008 hit before they had memories of prosperity. Their childhood world has been a completely different landscape than the 80s and 90s, and this shaped their views and their behavior. Studies over the last 5 years are showing significant differences in this decade's teenagers versus the teenagers of the 90s. For example, 15% less have tried alcohol and 20% more are wearing seatbelts. Obviously, this lends itself well to insurance. After all, helping insureds understand the need for insurance is often half the battle. It's certainly a lot easier conversation if the prospective insured already has an appreciation for risk mitigation. So I think we can go a little deeper in our talk track to Gen Z and focus the conversation around the core value proposition of insurance: peace of mind and security. But they aren't complacent and they do take calculated risks. In fact, they are extremely driven. My generation was told that we could do anything we wanted to do and be anything we wanted to be. Most of us saw our college years as a time for self-discovery and growth and mass quantities of really cheap pizza, which was clearly very effective because all I left college with was a very useful bachelor's in German and an even more intense hatred of the Packers. Sorry, Wisconsin. Gen Z, on the other hand, is hitting the ground running. As one Gen Z student, Maya Makino, is quoted as saying in Fast Company, "My friends and I are really focused on finishing up in 4 years and having a good career path. There's less time for reflection because there's that worry about whether you're going to be able to survive in the economy if you're not really directed." They came of age during a recession and are prepared to fight for their futures. And what's surprising to me is that despite their risk aversion, they aren't planning for traditional corporate jobs. The combination of a high-tech and highly connected childhood has actually resulted in a very entrepreneurial generation. 72% of teenagers say they want to start a business someday. And some of them are doing that already, starting businesses right in high school. The downside here is recruitment. This does not seem like a generation that is very excited about corporate America. It's going to be challenging to get them excited about an insurance career. We know how exciting and dynamic and entrepreneurial insurance can be, but I don't think that's very clear from the outside. So all of us within the industry need to be thinking about that. How do we get a new generation excited about what appears to be the establishment? We're going to have to engage with them and show them. But on the insured side, that teenage driver with one vehicle that used to be a small, undesirable risk might actually turn into a multi-line commercial account in a short turnaround time. Carriers that can attract these risks early on and retain them will be ahead of the curve. But that is also a challenge because Gen Z is not big on big brands. They crave authenticity. They grew up in an era where information was available at all times, so they are fact-checking research machines. They aren't as trusting of big brands and carefully curated marketing messages. If you want to attract Gen Z as a customer or employee, you're gonna have to show some personality and connect with them as individuals. They expect customization and transparency. You can even see this in their fashion. Millennials spent a lot of money getting logos on their clothes. Gen Z? Not so much. They don't want to be part of the establishment, which I guess makes them even more special snowflakes than us millennials. I am really excited to welcome Gen Z to the workforce and marketplace though. And not just because it takes some heat off my generation. I think their work ethic, drive, and connectivity are going to be huge assets across the board. I've gotten a chance to speak to a few groups of them over the last year and have been really impressed each time. They really lived up to the engaged, driven Gen Z persona. And a few of them thought that my geeky insurance career path was cool, so I think there is some hope to bring them into the industry. So here's to the next generation. May you retain your authenticity and drive and take over the killing of American traditions and brands so we millennials can take a break. It's been an exhausting couple decades. And now you may return to your regularly scheduled millennial discussion. We might be getting older, but I guess we are still bigger and richer and more employed than Gen Z.